You ever notice how someone's words say one thing, but their body says something completely different? That's the thing about attraction. It's not always in what a guy says, it's in what he doesn't say. And trust me, no matter how much a man might try to play it cool, his body language will always betray him. You don't even have to be an expert to pick up on it. You just have to pay attention. When a guy is into you, he unconsciously starts doing things that show it, even if he's trying to hide his feelings or isn't ready to admit them yet. His body makes the first move long before his words catch up. Let's start with the most basic one, proximity. If you're in a room with other people and you notice he always finds a way to be near you, even if it's just a couple of feet closer than he needs to be, that's not an accident. That's instinct. When a guy is into you, he gravitates towards you. He might not even realize he's doing it. It could be something subtle, like sitting closer on the couch, standing next to you in a group photo when there are plenty of other spots, or coincidentally ending up next to you at the bar or in line. Our closeness isn't just about convenience. It's his body's way of trying to close the distance between you. And then there's how he positions himself. If you're talking and his feet are pointed toward you, his chest is facing you, and he's leaning in slightly, that's a huge sign. Think about it. When we're interested in someone, we open ourselves up to, literally, he's subconsciously aligning his whole body in your direction, like he's trying to say, I'm here. I'm focused on you. Even if he's surrounded by other people, his attention will be directed at you, not just in where he's looking, but in where his body is aimed. It's like everything else fades into the background for him. Now, let's talk about that little lean, that slight lean in during a conversation. It may seem like nothing, but it speaks volumes. It shows he's engaged, he's listening, he's drawn in. When someone's not interested, they pull away, they give space. But when a man likes you, he does the opposite. He breaks that invisible boundary, even if just by inches, because being closer to you feels more natural than staying at a distance. Another dead giveaway, mirroring. This one's fascinating. Even realizing it, people mimic the behavior of those they're attracted to. If you cross your legs, he might do the same. If you rest your chin in your hand a minute later, he might be doing it too. This isn't about copying, it's about connection. Our brains are wired to sync up with people we feel emotionally connected to. So when you catch him matching your gestures or your pace when you walk side by side, that's not coincidence. That's chemistry acting out in real time. Let's not forget posture. Guys who are into you often subconsciously try to appear a little more confident. They stand up straighter, pull their shoulders back, maybe puff out their chest just a bit. It's a primal thing, almost like a bird puffing out its feathers. He's trying to present the best version of himself without even realizing it. You'll notice it, especially if he changes his posture. The moment you walk into the room, if he goes from slouching with his buddies to suddenly straightening up and adjusting his stance, pay attention. That's a silent, hey, I see you. Then there's eye contact, which is closely tied to body language, but it's not just whether he looks at you, it's how he looks at you. A man who's attracted to you will often hold eye contact just a beat longer than normal. It's that moment where it almost feels like time slows down for a second, and sometimes he'll look away and then quickly look back. That double take that says he couldn't help himself, or maybe you catch him staring when you're not looking and he quickly diverts his eyes when you notice. That glance, that's pure instinct. That's him trying to take you in, even if he doesn't mean for you to see it. All these little signs, where he stands, how he leans, the direction of his feet, how he mimics your movements, they might seem small, but together, They paint a very clear picture. They tell you that his body is speaking the truth, even if his words haven't caught up yet. Because when a guy is truly into you, he doesn't have to say anything at all. His body says it for him. And the truth is, once you know how to read it, you'll never unsee it again. You know, one of the funniest things about attraction? When a guy's into you, he'll start popping up like a magician. One moment you're going about your day, the next, boom, he's randomly showing up where you are, acting like it's the biggest coincidence in the world. But let's be honest, most of the time, it's not. It's deliberate. He's finding excuses to be around you. And it's one of those flirty behaviors that's almost impossible for him to hide, no matter how subtle he thinks he's being. Now, sometimes it's overt. He'll invite you to things, ask to hang out, message you with plans. That's the obvious version. But more often, especially in the early stages, when he's still testing the waters or trying not to come on too strong, he'll find indirect ways to stay in your orbit. He'll start showing up at events he didn't seem interested in before. He suddenly likes the same coffee shop you always go to. He happens to be in your area and thought he'd drop by. The word coincidence starts to wear thin. What's actually happening is that his desire to be close to you is outweighing his ability to play it cool. There's something deeply primal about this. When we're drawn to someone, we don't just want to talk to them. We want to be around them. We crave their presence. And for men, this often turns into a series of low risk, low effort attempts to be physically near the person they're interested in just to see what kind of response they get. It's a way of testing the waters, seeing if you'll light up when you see him or if you'll brush it off. And here's the key thing. He'll try to make it seem casual. He doesn't want to seem like he's chasing too hard. So instead of saying, I came here just to see you, he might say, oh, I was just in the neighborhood. Or my friend told me about this spot. But when it happens repeatedly, it stops being about logistics and starts being about intent. The pattern gives him away. And the more often he just happens to be where you are, the clearer it becomes. Sometimes he'll use shared interest or mutual friends as a cover. If he knows you're part of a running club, he might suddenly take up running. If you're always at a certain bar on Thursdays, he might start showing up there with a friend. If you mention a favorite band, don't be surprised if he's suddenly at that concert too. It's not that he's trying to be creepy or invasive. It's that he wants to be a part of your world. And the easiest way to do that is to insert himself into places where you already are. There's a subtle version of this too, one that happens more digitally, but is still just as revealing. If he's frequently replying to your stories, reacting to your posts, sending you memes, or finding excuses to start little conversations, he's trying to stay on your radar. He might not know exactly what to say, but he knows he doesn't want to disappear from your world. So he keeps finding ways to nudge his way back in, even if it's under the radar. What's really happening here is this. He's looking for proximity, but not just physically, emotionally too. A guy who's into you doesn't just want to see you. He wants to be seen by you. He wants to feel like he's relevant in your life. He wants you to notice that he's around. That's why even small efforts to create overlap in your daily lives, whether through physical presence or little digital breadcrumbs, are so telling. He's putting himself in your line of sight again and again, hoping you'll meet him halfway. And here's the part he can't fake, his energy when he's near you. You'll notice that when he's around, he's more alert, more animated, maybe a bit nervous, maybe trying to be funnier or more impressive. It's not just that he's showing up, it's how he shows up. He brings a different version of himself when he's around you. There's an extra spark, even if it's subtle, that spark doesn't lie. At the end of the day, attention is a form of affection. Effort is a form of interest. If a guy is going out of his way to be where you are, that's not accidental. That's not background behavior. That's intention, plain and simple. He might think he's being smooth about it, but if you're paying attention, it's one of the most obvious signs there is. Because no matter how much he tries to mask it, a man who wants to be close to you will keep finding ways to show up again and again and again. There's this moment that happens when a guy is into you. It's quiet, almost invisible, but if you catch it, it speaks louder than anything he could say. It's when his eyes find you across the room. And even if it's just for a second, they stay there longer than they should. That one moment is packed with more truth than any smooth line or clever joke. Because when a guy is really interested, his eyes are like a spotlight. They land on you. And it's like everything else fades out for him. Eye contact is one of the most telling behaviors when it comes to attraction. It's instinctual. He's not calculating it. He's not scripting it. It just happens. That's what makes it so powerful. When a man looks at you in that way, where you can feel him noticing you, not just glancing at you like everyone else, but really noticing you, it's because you've caught his attention on a deeper level. He might not say anything, but in that pause, in that quiet second where he doesn't look away right away, something is being communicated. It can start off subtle. Maybe you catch him looking at you when he thinks you're not paying attention. He's not trying to make it obvious, but his eyes keep drifting towards you. You might be in a group setting and a party, a meeting, even just walking past each other in a hallway. And every time you check, there he is, eyes on you again. It's not the stare of someone who's zoned out or looking around the room aimlessly. It's more focused. There's a curiosity there, a pull. He's watching you, learning you, even if it's from across the room. And then there's the opposite moment when your eyes meet. That brief exchange where suddenly it's just the two of you in a bubble and neither of you quite knows what to do with it. If he holds your gaze for just a second longer than normal, just a beat, that's not random. That's his interest peeking through. Because when we're attracted to someone, we want to connect. And eye contact is the purest form of connection there is. It's direct, it's vulnerable, and it's often completely unintentional. Sometimes it's even playful. He looks at you, you catch him, and instead of turning away immediately, he smiles or raises his eyebrows, maybe even gives you a small knowing look like he's caught, but he's okay with it. That little flicker of connection, that's flirting without a single word. And those moments can often say more than an entire conversation ever could. Now, not all eye contact is confident. Sometimes, if a guy really likes you but hasn't figured out how to handle those feelings, he'll do the quick look away move. You know the one. He's staring, but the moment you catch him, he panics and looks somewhere else, like he just remembered something urgent on the ceiling. That's not disinterest. That's nerves. That's him getting caught doing something he wasn't ready to own yet. But the fact that he was watching you before you noticed, that's the part that matters. You'll also see it in conversation. A man who's into you will hold eye contact more consistently when you're speaking, not because he's trying to impress you, but because he genuinely wants to hear what you have to say. He's present, he's listening. You can feel it in the way his eyes don't wander while you're talking and in the way they light up when you laugh or tell a story. He's dialed in. And that level of focus, attention, that's not something he gives to everyone. Even in group settings, you can spot it. Notice where his eyes go when someone says something funny or when there's a loud reaction in the room. People naturally look to the person they're most interested in to gauge their reaction. So if something funny happens and he instinctively looks to you to see if you're laughing too, that's not just a habit, that's a sign. It means your response matters to him. It means he's emotionally tuned into you, even when the moment isn't about you. And there's a warmth that comes with it. When a guy's attracted to you, the way he looks at you will feel different. It's not just observation. It's admiration. It's that gaze that lingers a little longer, that carries a softness, maybe even a sense of wonder. He's trying to take you in. He's trying to hold on to a moment he doesn't quite know how to act on yet. And you'll feel it, not just see it, but feel it, because it carries energy. That energy is undeniable. So while it might seem like such a small thing, just a glance, just a look, don't underestimate it. Because a man can control what he says, he can control his tone, his actions, even his schedule. But his eyes always tell the truth. There's this moment right in the middle of what seems like a harmless joke or a little tease where you suddenly feel something shift. It's light, it's playful, but there's something behind it. And you know what it is? Flirting. Because when a guy is into you, it's almost impossible for him not to engage in this kind of behavior. The teasing, the little jabs, the subtle touches, they're all his way of building connection without fully stepping into vulnerability. It's a dance, and most of the time he's not even aware that he's doing it. He just knows that being around you makes him want to play. Playfulness is one of the oldest languages of attraction. When we're drawn to someone, we instinctively find ways to create fun, low-pressure interactions. Why? Because it creates intimacy without feeling too intense too quickly. So if he's teasing you, gently making fun of something you said, joking about your coffee order, or playfully challenging you about your favorite movie, that's not him being difficult. That's him building rapport. It's his way of saying, I see you, I'm thinking about you, and I want to connect, but let's keep it fun for now. It's also a way of testing the chemistry. Teasing opens up this back and forth rhythm between two people, and when it clicks, it feels electric. If you tease him back and he lights up, that's your sign. He's enjoying the tension, the spark, the little competitive edge that exists only between two people who are attracted to each other. And often the teasing has a protective edge to it. It's not meant to hurt, it's meant to draw you in. It's the verbal version of a nudge on the arm. It says, hey, are you paying attention? But it's not just in the words, it's also in the way he touches you, not in a bold, aggressive way, but in those subtle, almost accidental moments, like brushing your hand as he passes you something, touching your back lightly as you walk through a doorway, fixing a piece of lint on your sweater that didn't really need fixing. These are the kinds of touches that linger a fraction of a second longer than they should. That slight pause, that's his body betraying his feelings again, because physical touch is one of the hardest things to fake. And even if he's trying to seem casual, there's an energy behind it that gives him away. He might find excuses for touch that seem innocent on the surface. Maybe he offers you a high five that turns into a handhold, or he plays a silly game that requires some kind of physical contact. These aren't random. These are carefully disguised opportunities to create a moment, one that feels small on the outside but means a lot more underneath. Because when a guy is into you, touch becomes a form of communication. It's how he says, I want to be closer to you, without saying a word. You'll notice that this playfulness is different from the way he acts with other people. Absolutely. He might joke with his friends, sure, but the way he teases you has more attention, more focus. It's more personal. And his touch, even if it's brief, carries a kind of charge that doesn't exist in casual interactions. That's how you know it's not just him being friendly. It's selective. It's intentional, even if it's disguised as casual. What's interesting is how often this behavior flies under the radar. You might write it off as him just being naturally playful or someone who likes to joke around. But if he's doing it more with you than anyone else, if he's leaning into those moments, watching your reaction, smiling when you respond, that's not random. That's interest. That's his version of flirtation. It's just wearing a funnier, safer outfit. And it's not just about having fun. It's about creating a feeling, because flirting like this, when it's done with genuine interest, makes you feel special. It makes you feel like you're in on a private joke. It's two people carving out a little space of their own in the middle of whatever else is happening. It's shared energy. It's chemistry in motion. Now, some guys might not even realize they're doing it. That's how instinctive it is. He just knows that when he's around you, he wants to make you laugh. He wants to find a reason to touch your arm. He wants to tease you about your playlist or your choice of dessert, not because he actually cares about either, but because it gives him a reason to engage with you. It gives him an excuse to connect without having to spell it out. So if you're wondering whether he's into you and he's constantly playfully teasing you or finding little ways to touch you, even just in passing, don't ignore that. That's not just friendly banter. That's interest. That's attraction finding its way to the surface, even when he's not ready to admit it out loud. One of the most telling signs that a man is into you, really into you, is the way he listens. And I'm not talking about polite nodding or the occasional real undivided attention. When a guy's genuinely interested in you, he tunes in completely. He's not just hearing you, he's absorbing everything. The words you say, the tone in your voice, even the little details most people would gloss over. Because when someone matters to us, we pay attention to them differently. Think about it. In a world full of distractions where people are constantly checking notifications, zoning out halfway through conversations, or giving you only half their energy, someone who shows up fully present stands out in a big way. When a guy likes you, being around you becomes his version of being fully alive in the moment. He doesn't want to miss a thing. He leans in. His eyes don't wander. He reacts to what you're saying in real time, not because he's trying to impress you, but because he's genuinely engaged. And the most powerful part, he remembers things. Not just the big things, like where you work or what city you grew up in, but the small things, the things you didn't even think he was paying attention to. That story you told in passing about your favorite childhood snack, he brings it up weeks later. That random comment you made about loving a certain type of flower, he somehow remembers and mentions it at exactly the right moment. This kind of memory isn't accidental, it's personal. It means he was listening, not just for the sake of responding, but because he wanted to know you better. There's something deeply vulnerable about listening, especially for men who often feel pressure to lead conversations, to entertain, to be the one in control. But when a man is truly into you, he lets his guard down. He allows himself to be quiet, and he gives you space to talk. He wants to understand how you see the world, your values, your dreams, your sense of humor, the way your mind works. That's why he asks follow-up questions. That's why he circles back to something you said earlier in the conversation. It's not a tactic. It's emotional investment in action. And you'll notice how different it feels. When someone is really listening to you, you feel heard in a way that's rare. You feel seen. There's a kind of emotional intimacy that builds without you even realizing it. You find yourself opening up more because his presence makes you feel safe. Like what you're saying actually matters. That's no accident. That's the chemistry of emotional connection at work. And it often starts with something as simple as listening, really listening. Now, here's the part that might surprise you. A guy might not even realize how intently he's listening to you in the moment. It's not always a conscious thing. Attraction has a way of sharpening our focus. When you're around someone who captivates you, everything else fades into the background. You're no longer distracted. You're dialed in. And that's why a guy who's into you won't just ask how your day was. He'll want to know how you felt about your day. He won't just comment on what you're wearing. He'll ask why that piece means something to you. He's not looking for surface level conversation. He's craving depth. And the only way to get that is through being fully present. You'll also see it in how he responds when you're talking about something that matters to you. Maybe you're venting about a tough day, or opening up about a fear, or sharing something that made you light up inside. If he's leaning in, offering support, asking questions, or even just sitting quietly and giving you space to speak, he's not just being polite. He's connecting. He's saying, without using the words, your inner world is important to me. It's this kind of listening that separates someone who's mildly curious from someone who's genuinely invested. Because it's easy to be charming. It's easy to say the right things, but sustained, attentive listening, that's effort. That's a choice. And more importantly, that's consistency. When a guy continues to show up with that kind of attentiveness again and again, it's a clear indicator that what he feels goes deeper than surface level attraction. And sometimes the most powerful proof of his interest is in the way he brings things back up later. Hey baby, surprise is you by remembering your sister's name, or the day of your big meeting, or a silly story you told weeks ago. It seems small, but it's massive, because it means you're not just passing through his mind, you've stayed there. So if you're wondering how he really feels, don't just listen to what he says. Pay attention to how he listens. That's where the truth lives. There's something incredibly revealing about the way a man positions himself when he's around someone he's truly drawn to. You may not notice it right away because it doesn't shout for attention. It's subtle, but over time, the pattern becomes undeniable. When a guy is into you, his body language shifts. He starts finding ways to be physically close to you, closer than he needs to be, closer than is typical in casual interactions. It's this unconscious pull. He feels toward your presence, like gravity working in the background. He won't always know he's doing it. That's the beauty of it. When a man is interested, his body often betrays what his words are trying to hide. You'll see it when he subtly leans in while you're talking, even in noisy places where leaning in wouldn't be necessary. You'll catch it in the way he angles his body toward you in a group setting, or how his feet are pointed in your direction when you're in conversation. That's not just good posture, it's instinct. It's his body aligning with his attention. Proximity matters. We naturally move closer to what we want to connect with. So when he chooses the seat next to you, even when other spots are open, or when he drifts into your personal space without even realizing it, that's not just him being friendly. That's desire making itself known through action. It's the kind of physical closeness that says, I want to be near you, even if he hasn't found the words for it yet. You might also notice that when he's near you, his body becomes more expressive. His gestures are more animated. His face lights up a little more. And there's an openness to the way he holds himself. He's not stiff. He's not closed off. Because around you, he doesn't want to protect or retreat. He wants to be seen. And there's often a level of subtle mirroring that happens too. If you lean back, he leans back. If you cross your legs, he does the same a moment later. This kind of unconscious syncing is a strong indicator that he's emotionally attuned to you. It's his body's way of building rapport and connection. And then there's the tension. You know what I'm talking about. That electric feeling that exists when two people are close but not quite touching. The almost, the maybe. That moment when your arms brush accidentally and no one pulls away. Or when he leans in just a little too close during a laugh and doesn't back up right away. Those small moments, that's where chemistry lives. It's not always about grand gestures. It's about proximity, about lingering, about how his presence makes you feel without him needing to do anything obvious. There's also a protectiveness that often shows up in his positioning. If you're walking together and he suddenly places himself on the side closest to the street, or he adjusts the pace of his walk to match yours, or even guides you gently through a crowd with his hand on your back. Those are micro behaviors that scream interest, not just attraction, but care. He's thinking about your comfort and your experience. He's physically showing that he's tuned into you. Sometimes it happens in quieter ways, like how he always manages to end up sitting next to you, or how even in a group he makes sure he's within earshot of your voice. He doesn't want to be distant, not because he's trying to be clingy or dominate the space, but because when a guy is into you, closeness becomes his comfort zone. Being near you feels better than being apart from you. And yes, you might be thinking, couldn't some of this just be how he behaves with everyone? Couldn't he just be a naturally physical, friendly person? Of course, that's possible. But that's where the comparison comes in. How does he act around others versus how he is with you? Is he standing a little closer, laughing a little more, finding excuses to linger? That contrast will tell you everything you need to know, because even if he's not making some big move, his body is already revealing the truth. Attraction has its own rhythm, and often it starts not with what's said, but with how someone shows up in the space around you. You can feel when someone is drawn to you, not just emotionally, but physically. And you don't need a dramatic gesture to prove it. Sometimes it's the gentle drift of a person getting just a bit too close and staying there, because when someone is truly into you, distance becomes something they're always trying to close.